James Whitmore had spent the last 10 years of his life in a small, quiet town in Vermont. A retired history professor, he spent his days reading in his study, walking through the golden autumn leaves, and sipping tea on his porch. His wife Eleanor had passed 5 years ago, leaving a void that even the most captivating books couldn't fill. His children lived in different states, busy with their own lives. Loneliness had become his most faithful companion. One chilly November morning, James heard the familiar creak of his mailbox. The mailman had come and gone, leaving behind a stack of routine bills and advertisements. But among them was a yellowed envelope, the edges worn with time. There was no return address, only his name written in elegant cursive. Intrigued, James carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, written in handwriting he hadn't seen in over 5 decades. As his eyes scanned the first few lines, his breath caught in his throat. It was from Margaret Sinclair. The name alone sent a wave of emotions crashing over him. Margaret was his first love, the girl he had once planned a future with. They had spent their youth dreaming together, walking by the lake, making promises under the stars. But fate had other plans. When James received a scholarship to study at Yale and Margaret's family moved to California, they drifted apart. Life had gone on. They had both married, built families, and moved on, or so he had thought. Why was she writing to him now? His hands trembled as he unfolded the letter. Dear James, I don't know if this letter will ever reach you. I don't even know if you still live at the address I remember. But if you are reading this, it means fate has given us one last conversation. Life has been kind and unkind in equal measure. I married a wonderful man, raised 3 children, and lived a life full of love. But as I sit here, knowing my time is coming to an end, I find my mind wandering to the past. Do you remember the summer of 1959? The night we snuck onto the old Ferris wheel, and you promised we'd always find our way back to each other? Life, of course, had different plans. But James, I never forgot you. I wish I could see you one last time, but I know the time has taken that possibility from us. So instead, I leave you this letter, a small piece of my heart, reaching out to yours. With love, always, Margaret. James felt his throat tighten. He hadn't thought about Margaret in years, not in this way. But reading her words, it was as if he were 20 again, standing before her, looking into those bright blue eyes filled with mischief and dreams. She had loved him still, and now she was gone. James couldn't sleep that night. The letter had awoken something in him: regret, longing, memories buried under decades of life. He had to know more. The next morning, he searched for Margaret's family. After a few calls and some online searches, he found an address. She had lived in a small town in California, just by the coast. Determined, James packed a small bag. His children would call it reckless, but he didn't care. He had to do this. The journey was long, but his resolve never wavered. As he arrived in the town, he found himself standing in front of a charming little house with white shutters and a garden full of roses. A woman in her 40s answered the door, her features strikingly familiar. "Can I help you?" she asked kindly. James hesitated before speaking. "My name is James Whitmore. I knew Margaret when we were young." The woman's eyes softened. "You must be the James from the letters." James blinked. "Letters? She nodded and invited him inside. Margaret's daughter Emily led him to a wooden box filled with neatly stacked letters, hundreds of them. "She wrote to you every year," Emily said gently. "She never sent them. She always said that if fate wanted you to meet again, it would happen naturally." James picked up one letter, dated 1975. Then another, from 1990. Each one a small window into her life, her joys, her sorrows, her thoughts of him. Tears welled in his eyes as he realized that while he had thought she had forgotten him, she had been thinking of him all along. "She spoke about you often," Emily said. "Not in a sad way, in a way that made us all feel like you were always a part of her story." James felt his heart ache in the most bittersweet way. He had come looking for answers, but instead, he had found a love story that had lasted a lifetime, unspoken but never forgotten. That night, James sat in his hotel room, a blank page before him. He picked up his pen, hesitating for only a moment before he began to write. "Dear Margaret, I don't know if this letter will ever reach you. I suppose in some way it already has. I found your words and they have changed me. I spent years thinking we had moved on, but now I realize that love never truly fades. It lingers in letters never sent, in memories tucked away, in promises whispered on Ferris wheels. I wish I had written first. I wish I had searched for you sooner. But I am grateful that in the end, I found you again, even if only in ink and paper. With love always, James." As he sealed the letter, James knew Margaret would never read it, but somehow he felt she already had, and for the first time in years, he felt at peace.